Welcome to another video. If you haven't been here before, my name is Matt. I'm a therapist located here in the state of New York. Today, we're going to talk about how to track emotions and why this can be really helpful. Also, stick around until the end because I'll be providing you with a way to track your own emotions. And if you haven't done so already, please do go ahead and subscribe below and hit the thumbs up on this video. It really is helpful. But there's no pressure. Only do it if you want to. Have you ever tried to track anything? I know a lot of people track their steps. Some people track their sleep. Other people track the weather. You can pretty much track anything that you want. And we track things in order to collect data over a period of time. We want to see if we're making progress on goals, or can we recognize any patterns, right? So if you track your sleep, maybe you want to see what nights during the week you sleep the most. Or if you track your steps, which days during the week are you walking the most? This is really helpful information. And when we track something, we're pretty much collecting data. And when we collect the data, we can analyze and interpret that data. When we analyze and interpret the data, we can make better and more informed decisions. The same goes with our emotions. If we can track data based on our emotions, then we can analyze and interpret this data, and we can make better and more informed decisions. So tracking your emotions and collecting that data is really helpful and can be really valuable. Another reason why it's important to track our emotions is because we can easily forget how we felt on any given day. So for example, if I asked you to tell me how you felt 2 Mondays ago, would you be able to tell me? If you can, you have an awesome memory. I know for me, I definitely cannot tell you how I felt 2 Mondays ago. What would be even harder is if I asked you to tell me how you felt every single day over the last 2 weeks. Now that's hard to remember. However, it's really important and valuable data, so we definitely want to keep track of it. So as we track our emotions and collect more data, we can then begin analyzing this data. And that's where the real benefit kicks in. One of the first things we can do is take a look at the bigger picture. It's helpful to know that sometimes a really good or a really bad moment can overshadow an entire period of time. So for example, let's say you had a pretty good week. You saw friends, you got work done, you felt pretty good generally. However, on Friday afternoon, you get a flat tire and you get stuck in the rain. Now you feel like your entire week has been ruined. Someone might even ask you, "Hey, how was your week?" And you would say, "It was awful. It was terrible." However, it wasn't terrible. It was just one terrible moment. When we're tracking our emotions and collecting that data, we no longer get stuck thinking like that, but we have a broader, bigger perspective and can see how we're actually doing versus how we think we're doing based off of one moment in time. And that's always a good thing. So in addition to seeing the bigger picture, analyzing the data can also help us recognize patterns that perhaps we didn't notice before. So for example, maybe you feel really sad on Mondays, or maybe Wednesday mornings you begin to notice that's when you experience the most anxiety. Or maybe you begin to notice that when you go out with family and friends, you feel the most content. I mean, there's all sorts of patterns that we can begin to recognize as we collect this data. This is really fascinating and can be really helpful. So those are just some of the benefits of tracking your emotions. But let's talk about how to actually do it. Now, one of the ways I like to do this is by using the DBT diary card. If you don't know what DBT is, that is okay. I made a quick and concise video right here that talks all about it. Go ahead and check that out. But it is an evidence-based treatment, and at the core of this treatment is the DBT diary card. Now the name can be misleading. It is not a notebook or a dear journal type of thing, but it's really a graph or a spreadsheet. It's a way of collecting data. And some of the data that's collected are emotions, behaviors we want to change, and whether or not we're doing anything when we notice problems. And rather than just tell you all about it and bore you to death with me talking, let's jump into the computer and I will show you how to complete a DBT diary card on your own. Let's jump in. So this is the DBT diary card. Don't worry, I know it looks a bit intimidating, but after today's video, you'll realize it's really not that bad. Also, just to know, this is a highly customizable, generic version of the diary card, so not everything will apply to everyone. You can take things away, you can add things. Again, very customizable, but this is just the generic template. All right, so today we're going to go over just a few sections, the behaviors to change, the emotions, and then I will describe the bottom boxes just a bit. So the first thing to know is that it's divided by days of the week. So you'll see here on the left-hand side, Monday through Sunday. And so what I encourage people to do is fill this out once a day. And I say maybe in the morning or maybe in the evening. Find a time that works for you and take a couple moments to fill it out. It really doesn't take that long. All right, so let's start with the emotions section here. And so what you'll notice is that there are different emotions across the top: anger, fear, joy, misery, and a few others. Now you can add ones to this if you'd like, or take some away. And so what you would do very simply is you would say, okay, here's anger and it's Monday. How much anger did I feel on Monday? 0 to 5, 0 being nothing, 5 being the most intense you've ever experienced. And so you wouldn't think much about it and you'd put down a number. Okay, Monday, 2. And then you would go over to fear and you would do the same thing. How much fear did you experience on Monday? Don't think too much about it, put something in. So on and so forth for the rest of the emotions. The key here is not to think too much about it and just to fill it out as honestly as you can. Okay, and that is actually all it takes for the emotions. Now, if you look here at the skills section, we're not going to talk too much about this today, but that applies over here. So once you actually begin DBT treatment, you learn a whole set of skills. And so what you would do here is you would write down whether or not you are using skills when experiencing certain emotions. But we won't talk too much about that today. The other section that's important to know is the behaviors to change. So basically what we're tracking here is whether or not we are experiencing urges to engage in the behaviors that we want to change and whether or not we actually did engage in the behavior. So let's say, for example, we want to track our tendency to yell at people. So we're going to call that yelling. And there's two things that we track, is the urge and the other is action. And so an urge is essentially our feeling of wanting to do it or feeling like we need to do it. And again, 0 to 5. 0 being nothing and 5, the urge is so intense, it was the worst intensity you could have experienced. So let's say on Monday, I think about it. Did I have an urge to yell at someone? Kind of. I'll put a 3. Did I actually yell at someone? No, I didn't actually. So I'll put an N for no. And you can really do this with any behavior, and it's that simple. And so what you would notice that over time, you would be able to track and analyze your emotional data and how that correlates with the behaviors that you want to change. And like I said before, this gives us a lot of different things to work with and to look at, good questions to ask. It's really, really good over a long period of time. And now just some other things to note is that this section here, the notes, simply for that. It's writing down a brief note or something to remember that you don't want to forget. So maybe on Monday, you have a very high fear number, but something happened. Maybe, something bad happened to you and you don't want to forget. So you would just jot that down in this section here. I've already talked about this, but the skills section. So if you're involved in DBT treatment or any sort of treatment where we're talking about skills and interventions, this would correlate with this section here and pretty much just talks about whether or not you're using the skills when needed. And then finally, this is a section for you just to write down goals and things like that. So that's the DBT diary card, a simple and effective way for tracking emotions. Now, this can be done on your own, but it really is meant to be done alongside a therapist. That way you can talk about anything that comes up throughout the process. I will be providing this exact template as a free download down below for any provider interested in using it. All you'll have to do is sign up for my free monthly provider newsletter. This is a very short and concise newsletter that comes out only once a month for providers and for those who refer people to therapists. I hope you liked this video. I hope it was helpful for you. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please do go ahead and leave those down below. I look forward to seeing you soon.